day, everyone. My name is Mrs. Oyebade. I am giving this lecture from Coastline Fashion School. Our topic today says A-line skirt. I would like to draw A-line skirt before I move to explanation. A-line skirt. Let us see the structure of A-line skirt. A-line or A-shape skirt. A-shape skirt. A-line or A-shape skirt. So this is front view. This is front view. This is front view of our A-line skirt. Now we move to back view. Back view. So at the back of our A-line skirt, we are going to have a zip. At the back, we will have a zip. We have that. We have another that. So this one, this line at the middle is called our center line. Then this is called a zip. This is called a that. At the front, we also have a that. But there is no center line at the front and there is no zip at the back. Now the measurement. If you want to take measurements, your customer measurement for this type of skirt, we are going to take 4 tangible measurements. 4 tangible measurements. The first one is length of the customer. The second measurement you have to take is waist measurement. Then the third one is hip measurement. Then the half length is the fourth one. The half length is the fourth one. Now let us assume the length of our customer is 40 and the waist is 24, while the hip is 36, then the half length is 18. So if you have taken the accurate measurement, now we move to the calculation. How do we calculate it in the process of cutting? If you want to cut, you are going to add sewing allowance to all our measurements. Or like this length now, for the down, you are going to bend the down of the skirt maybe with 1 or 2 inches, depending on the inches you are going to use to bend the down of the skirt. So let us assume I want to bend it down with 2 inches. So you add the 2 inches plus what you now want to use to bend it up, to fold it up. Let us assume I want to make use of half. So if you add everything together, 40 plus 2 plus half, it will give us 42 and half. So go to the waist. Our waist, we are going to divide it by 4. Why are we dividing our waist by 4? Because we are going to fold the front in 2 folds and we are going to cut this one in 2 folds. So 2 folds at the front and 2 folds at the back, it will give us 4 folds. So when we divide 24 by 4, it will give us 6. Plus, we are using 1.5 to pick one that, 1.5 to pick another that, then 1 for the side and 1 for the side. Now that we have divided our waist by 4, so definitely we are using one side of the skirt sewing allowance. So we are going to add this 1.5 to this one. It will give us 2.5. So if we now add 2.5 to our 6, it will give us 8.5. So this 2.5 is meant for one dart and side of the skirt because we have already divided our waist by 4. Now we move to the hip. Hip divided by 4 also. We are going to divide our hip by 4 because we are going to fold the material, the front of the skirt in 2 folds, and we are going to fold this one also in 2 folds. So 2 folds plus 2 folds also, just like that of our waist, it will give us 4 folds. So when you divide your 36 by 4, it will give us 9 plus 1, it will give us 10. Where do you see this 1? You can see that this 1.5 we are not going to use it when we get to the hip point, because the length of our dart should be either 4.5 or 5, you know. And when we look at distance calculation from waist to hip, we are using 7. The distance calculation between waist and hip, we are using 7. And the length of our dart is 5. As you can see now, the length, the dart does not touch the point of our hip. So that is why the 1.5 does not come to the hip measurement. So we are using only the one that we are using to join the side of the skirt that concern the hip. That is the one we are adding to the hip measurement. So when you divide 36 by 4, it will give you 9 plus 1 to join the side of the skirt. It will give us 10. Now moving to the half length. You know, half length is very, very important in this type of skirt that has a shape like this, because without knowing the points of the half length, you will not know where the shape of the skirt will start from. So when you are taking your customer measurement, the half length is very important. Take the half measurement of the half length. Don't say that everybody is using the same half length. No, we have the taller people and we have the shorter people. So take the proper measurement in the process of taking measurement of your customer. So let us assume that the half length of this skirt is 18. So plus half, it will give us 18.5. Where do you see this half? The half we are using to fold the upper part of the skirt. Because if you don't add it to the half length of the customer, that means you are going to pick this half from this 18, and the customer half length will now jump to 17.5. So that is why whatever you want to use for sewing allowance should be added to the measurement of your customer, because at the end of the day, if you don't add it to the measurement of your customer, it will affect the measurement of that customer, and it will lead to unbalanced shape of the finished garment. So those are the things we have to know about the calculation. So after this one now, we will now move to the cutting of the A-line skirt. Why are we calling this skirt A-line skirt? I'm supposed to have said that one earlier, but it's never too late. The reason why we are calling this skirt A-line skirt is that looking at the structure of our alphabet A, you know, when you look at the alphabet A, at the upper part it is very tiny, and at the lower part it has a 2 wider branches. A has a 2 wider branches at the lower part. So that is the logic being applied to this skirt. Looking at this skirt, look at the upper part of the skirt, it is very tiny. At the lower part, it has a 2 wider branches, both at the left, at the right and left. So that is the logic applied to the skirt. That's why we are calling it A-line skirt, because of our alphabet A-line skirt. So before we can have these wider branches at the lower part, that means we are going to add additional inches to the lower part of the skirt before it can give us this kind of shape. Because if you don't add to the lower part of the skirt cannot give us this exactly shape. That means the skirt will be maybe like A-line or pencil skirt. But when you add to the lower part of the skirt, it will give you this shape. And the inches you are going to add to the lower part of the skirt will be determined by your customer. We have some customers that like the down of their skirt to roll very well on the floor, to be very big. And we have some that love moderate things. So the customer is not going to be the one to tell you the inches you are going to add to the left, to the lower part, but you will be the one to do that as a professional. So the measurements we are adding to the lower part for the moderate skirt start from 5, 6, 7. So depend on how the customer want the down to be. You understand? So now let us move to the cutting of the skirt. I'm going to clean this one off, then we'll move to the cutting of the skirt. This is the drawing and the calculation of the measurement. So we move to the cutting of the skirt. So we want to cut the A-line skirt now. We have already done the drawing, we have done the measurement, then the calculation of the measurement. That's exactly the way it should be. Now we are moving to the cutting of the A-line skirt. Now let us go. You know, before you can fold your material, like I said, there should be an additional inches to the lower part of the skirt. You know, when we want to fold the material, you will have known the inches you want to add to the lower part of the skirt. Let us assume I want to add 5 inches to the lower part of the skirt. So this one, 5, plus hip. As you can see, hip is the biggest measurement here. So we are going to add 5 plus hip measurement. It will give us 15. So when you now want to fold your material, you are going to fold it in two folds with 15 inches. So let us measure it now, right from up. Now, right from up, let us measure our 15 inches. Okay, this is 15 inches. This is 15 inches. Then the lower part, you measure it also, you measure 15 inches. Then you come to the middle, you also measure 15 inches. Then you will now link it together. We are going to link it together. So we now say the width is equal to 10 plus 5. That is equal to 15. 10 for hip, then 5 for additional inches.
Action.
So we have already used 15 inches to fold our material for front, because the reason why it's up to 15 is that you can see that in our measurement, the hip measurement is the biggest here. So when you have your biggest measurement, which is the hip, then the additional inches you are going to leave for you are going to add to the down of the skirt. I assume I want to use 5 inches. Well, I will now add 5 to the length with the 10 inches of the hip. So it will give me 15. So I use the 15 to fold the material so that it will give me that shape of my A line. Now we now say the length. The length is equal to, what's the length? 40 plus 2 for down of the skirt, then plus half. It will give us 42 and half. So at the upper part of our skirt, we normally measure waist. The upper part of our skirt, we normally measure waist. So we are going to measure our calculated waist here. The calculated waist is 8 and half. So this is our 8 and half. So we now say waist is equal to 8 and half. Waist is equal to 8 and half. Then, when we are talking about distance calculation, it is very, very important in cutting our skirt, because without knowing the distance calculation, our skirt will not balance. The shape of our skirt will not balance, and it will not sit perfectly in the body of our customer. So now, the distance calculation between the waist and the hip, we normally measure 7 inches from waist to hip. So that is what we are going to apply here. So the distance calculation from waist to hip is 7. So this one is telling us that at this point, this is where we are going to measure our hip. So now the hip is now, we now look at the hip measurement. Our hip measurement is 10 inches. Hip is 10 inches. So now connect it, you join it together. We are going to allow it to bend a little bit. So we now say distance calculation, DC is equal to 7, and now, like I said earlier, the waist is 8 and half because we have already done the calculation here. Then the hip is 10 inches. So after having your waist, which is the smallest part of the body, then the hip, which is the biggest part of the body, the remaining length of the skirt, because in every of our skirts we are going to have the origin of free straight skirts. Because this is A-line skirts now, we first of all have a free straight skirts before we now move to shaping of our A-line skirts. Every of our skirts, every other skirt has the origin of free straight skirts.